we would discuss what are you going to do when you get your money, right? Oh, I'm gonna do this. Oh, I'm gonna go to France. And mine was, I'm gonna get a real proper tour bus, right? Like a rock star tour bus. I'm gonna put all my best friends in it, and I'm gonna drive all over the whole continent of Canada, all the way down into South America, all over the United States. I'm gonna find the best place to live, and then I'm gonna build a mansion there, and all my friends are gonna come and live there. And that's what I did, except I didn't win the fucking lottery, man. I just did. I realized, like, I'll just do it. Yeah. Just do it. Yeah. Okay, no tour bus, okay. No $1 million, okay. But I am going to drive all over, find the coolest place I can find, and I'm gonna fucking live there, and I'm gonna make art.
Sounds like your life right now, right?
And that's what I did.
While the world is burning, got to make amends. Walk on the sunny side with a positive lens. Talks about passion between the women and the men. Chris Dyer and his creative friends, darling. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Hi, welcome back to Chris Dyer's Creative Friends, the super awesome podcast, YouTube amazingness. That me, your artist friend Chris Dyer, does along his super beautiful artist friends. Well, this week I'm in Boulder, Colorado. I'm chilling with some of my favorite people and bestest friends in the visionary art community, Morgan and Randall. Morgan was the last episode. I hope you watched it. And in this episode, I'm talking to Randal Roberts, internationally recognized visionary artist.
Yes, sir.
Woo!
Hey, all right.
Fuck yeah. Thank you for having me over to your home.
It's wonderful to have you here, my friend.
Thanks. Are you Iron Man?
Am I Iron Man? No, we're not.
What's up with this crazy, like, pimp-ass cliffside house deluxe?
We got a cool place with some help and with the support of our fans. We did a huge sale before we moved in here, and we got a really great place that needed a lot of work. So it will be face value after another several years of investment.
Couple decades.
Yeah, but we knew the location was perfect, and Morgan searched for nearly 4 years. The housing market around here is pretty fierce, and I'm just a poor blue collar kid. You know, like I'm not like a real estate savvy. This is all new to me.
I'm under the impression that your art career is blossoming and exploding to the point where you can manifest such abundance as we are right now. Even though our life's kind of at risk right now on this on this patio.
Yeah, I think like that's part of it, right? Like I try to be a good person, and I've spent a lot of effort being friendly and loving, and I think that stuff after 20 fucking years pays off in like other sideways. Whereas I meet investors and all this stuff, I'm by no means blue ticket artist, but we were able through a series of positive events to acquire this property, and we hope to take it all the way and hopefully have retreats and stuff here eventually. But like I said, it needs a lot of work, and a lot of that Morgan and I are doing ourselves.
Beautiful, man.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
So Randall, do you remember where we met, or like how we got to know about each other?
I remember where we met in person. That was Rootwire, 2012. Shout out Papadocio. And before that, we talked online quite a bit. And
I was your fan. But
I was your fan. Yeah.
But nobody knew you, and I was telling everybody, like, there's this dude in New York who also does cartoony, visionary art, and he's really sick, but nobody knows him. I was telling people, like, get him in your festivals and stuff.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I started painting seriously, I guess 2000, And then my art started becoming pretty okay to look at around 2004, 2005. And around that time, I reached out to all my favorite artists. I wrote emails just to everybody. Now, I lived near the artist Alex Gray and his wife, and I hung out with them, and they're great. They were very encouraging. But then as I sort of like was getting really into making art and also casting a net for a community, I was like, hey, I want to be your friend. I want to know what, So I wrote a bunch of emails to maybe 50 artists, and about 5 of you wrote back, and you were one of them. And you wrote back the longest reply, because I wrote to you and I said, hey, you have an art career. I would really like an art career. Can you give me any pointers? I'd like to be your friend. And you said, oh, hell yeah. And you just come out with your documentary too.
Positive Creations.
Positive Creations, yeah. And that, particularly your time in Hawaii, for some reason, really inspired me, because I'd gone on a road trip and all that. So I really felt called to you. And
you were friends with John O'Hea at the time? You guys were watching
yeah,
it
I
together
had
or
just met
something?
him. Yeah. And now we've been friends for 15, 16 years. It's crazy. But yeah, I was always so appreciative that you wrote me back so much, and just completely open with, well, get your prints from here and write to a gallery there, and if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. And I adopted that as a working artist. I adopt that for young artists that contact me. I try to be open like that and reach out.
Right,
And,
you gotta help out area you can, if you got the time at least.
Yeah, if you got the time. At least, I mean, so many people didn't respond.
But at that time that you hit me up, there was a lot less visionary artists. Now there's like 1 million. By the time you hit me up, that was like
Yeah, you were
like early 2010s, and I saw the quality of your work, and I was like, oh hell yeah! There was other than that, there was no cartoony visionary artist. I was kind of the only one.
Yeah.
So I was excited to see another cartoony visionary artist, but in your own style. I didn't feel threatened or feel like you come barge in and like take that role. I was like, wow, like another dude I can resonate with.
Yeah.
So happy to help you.
Yeah,
know?
it's weird looking back on that scene, right? It's like the 100th monkey theory kind of took place. Like, who knows why everyone, maybe it took that long for Terence McKenna's speeches to permeate and get down into the soil of all the artists. I don't know. But yeah, it seems like it was you and a handful of others. There were elders like Robert Venosa and Alex Gray doing their thing, Dali to some extent, Maddie Klarwein,
But very few.
But then, yeah, your peers were like Carrie and Luke, but there was just a handful. And then all of a sudden there's 200 of us en masse. And,
right. I think that Rootwire was a big shift. So before Rootwire 2012, the visionary community was like 20 to 30, including Alex and Robert Venosa and those other people of our age that are in their 40s by now.
This is also, the rise of the internet was also taking place at the same time. So there may have been pockets of psychedelic and visionary artists. I mean, I'm sure there were. There were pockets, but they weren't necessarily given an advertisement for a festival to all go, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that, yeah.
Well, there were no events. Like where I finally figured out there was a visionary scene was in like 2004 or 2003 when I found Arrowhead vaults.
Yeah, Arrowhead. Yeah.
Right. It was like a web page that like did all these, all about drugs.
Their fucking art page though was the shit.
Right.
It was that, and John Bine in Australia had Bine art.
All right. Was he that old? Like that?
Yeah, they were simultaneous, but those were the only two places to find.
But the Jungian
visionary
art scene is a little bit darker. It's a different kind of visionary art.
Back then, yeah, he's doing his own thing for sure.
Yeah.
He's worried about John, but I remember, again, this is pre-Facebook,
Right, it's like 2003. I had a webpage. It was a Jail City situation where like the images are like this small because you just want to fucking get them uploaded. It's just like this thing.
I had a blog in 2002 before I had paintings, and I said, "This is Randal Roberts' art. stay tuned. And then I got into like blogging, like when you had to do it all yourself, HTML.
Right.
And I wrote about how I wanted to be an artist a lot for like years. And I didn't have much artwork. I had a lot of pencil drawings. A lot of artists start out drawing on the back of their notebook, so that was me. And I posted all those. And then I finally bit the bullet and started making paintings. And then after that,
You started like being an artist quite late, right?
yes, sir.
Like what age?
I started my first painting when I was 29, and I finished it when I was 31. And at 31, I started painting constantly. But yeah, I did always like to draw though. And I originally wanted to make, like what I was doing with my life in my 20s was kind of playing video games like that, well, as a lot of people do, they're very enticing and they're cool. And I didn't really have the educational background. The competition to be a monster designer for video games is totally insane. Like,
right.
You have to have a computer science degree and an art degree, and I really wanted to get this job at this one particular company, and I was gunning for it, and in the effort of trying to design video game monsters on my own, I was in my bedroom like I'm designing video game monsters, and I'm like, oh, I should paint one of these because the painting will look cooler.
Right.
And then as soon as I started painting like swept me away, and it had its own plans, and that's where, and then I was also starting to trip a lot at the time, and it's weird. Yeah.
It's the same with me. I wanted to be an animator before I wanted to be a fine artist,
Yeah.
but the animation school wouldn't let me in. So I had to go to fine art school to become good enough to then get into the animation school.
And
for 2 years they wouldn't let me in, and then I just kept on going with fine art. It's like, actually, I can say a lot more with a painting than by doing these animations for other people.
Yeah, it gets in your soul. It's like, and that's a wonderful like metaphor for the rest of life. It's really cool. Like, what is Paulo Coelho in The Alchemist? He says, the only decision you make is to jump in the river. So that's the decision you make. I'm going to jump in the river, but then the river takes you. And whatever shore you wash up on isn't so much your choice, but you did make the decision to jump.
Right.
And that's hard for a lot of people. And I'm so lucky that I was stupid enough and brave enough and naive enough to jump in the river. And I still romanticize making video game monsters. I wish I could. I love all the people involved in that line of work. I wish I could work for Dungeons and Dragons or Heavy Metal Magazine. That was my shit back then. But once I started painting, my own voice rose up from the grave and just became my whole life,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you mostly learned how to paint from these workshops you were doing at Omega Institute and Cosm. I think you were working at Omega Institute, right? Or volunteering?
Yeah, there's a timeline. I worked at a factory at IBM for most of my 20s.
Okay.
And then for vacation on a whim, I was really interested in art, like I said, and there was this art workshop at Omega with Alex and Allison Gray.
Okay.
And it was a week-long thing. I went there I used my vacation, and I went there. And when I got out of that class, I was like, okay, I'd never been around 100 artists before, if you know what I mean. Like, I was the weirdo in my friend group that liked to draw, so I was the artist. But when you go and there's a community of all these crazy people who make art, I was so blown away by that. I really pretty much left that workshop and said, okay, that's it. I'm going to make art. And so there was a little bit of, and I was pretty good by that. I could draw what I wanted to draw, you know what I mean? But I didn't have a voice or anything. So I left the workshop, I went to my job, and I said, tell me how I can cash out my 401k, because I think I'm gonna go now and do my life. And this is
That was like late 20s, right?
that was at 30 years old.
30 years old.
At 30 years old, I been struck by several different synchronicities, and just I woke up to the fact that this is your only one life. It's sort of like it's like I don't know. I was sitting at a stoplight one time, and this Red Hot Chili Peppers song came on, and the line is, "This life is more than just a read-through." A read-through, as you know, is when they are going to do a movie. They sit down with the script and they pretend and get the voices right and everything. This isn't a read-through. This is the fucking movie. And it hit me, and it was right around the time, and I was like, oh, if I want to do something with my life, I should do it now instead of
Practice for something that will never happen.
yeah, or these, you know, there's plenty of beautiful people who never walk out to the shoreline of their own soul, you know.
Right.
I don't know how to explain it, but it was also...
It's almost like the song "Time" by Pink Floyd, also. That,
How
you know,
so?
like 10 years have passed you by, and you've never really like become free. I can't remember the specific lyrics.
Yeah, or
but-
that fucking, you know, the song about the guy and his son, you know, and then he comes back from graduation, and then he has the kid, and then he's old, and like, I forget the name of the song. But
Cat Stevens?
Cat Stevens, yeah. Yeah, that sentiment struck me like a bolt of lightning, and then was invigorated by meeting all these artists, and I was like, okay. And I was terrified.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah, intimidating.
yeah, I mean, I almost literally drove off into the sunset, and I took my 401k money, which was only, you know, $8,000 or something.
I don't know what a 401k is, but I imagine
Oh, it's a retirement plan
Okay.
set up with a good job.
Okay.
I had a really good job
nice.
for a, you know, blue collar guy who grew up in the hood, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so I literally sold all my shit. I got a truck, a pickup truck, and I put painting stuff in the back, and I fucking left New York for the first time in my life. I'd been to New Jersey, I'd been to Florida one time, but I always had dreamed like about California, you know. So I drove with two paintings, mind you, two paintings in the back of my truck.
Okay.
And I just drove. I had a friend living in California, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'll meet you out there in a while." But I wanted to see the country, so I drove all the way down the East Coast, all the way through this New Orleans and the Southwest for the first time, mind you, by myself. Not homeless. I was staying at hostels and motels and things. I was, you know, burning through this.
You had your 401k.
Yeah, I wasn't traveling like a gutter punk, you know. I was serious about it, and I would go to the hostels and I would draw in the main room and meet different people from Europe and things. Like, it was just an incredible.
It was true traveling for the first time.
Yeah, and I'd never done anything like that in my life. And by the time I'd gotten into the Southwest, my head was like exploding, man. I was like, you know, I fell in love with my life. And art was the vehicle. And before that, I was just going through, I was just going to stay where I grew up, and I don't know. But there's also, you know, if you're out traveling and you don't know where you're going to be tomorrow, there's an intense anxiety that goes along with that too. You know, it was intense. So it took about a year, and then I got to California, and one of my best friends that I grew up with was living in Oakland. And I was pretty tired by then and pretty worn out. And I had maybe 20 paintings now. And I moved in with him and fell in love with Oakland. Like, after seeing the whole country, I was like, oh man, Oakland is like, it's got everything that I just, the Southwest is awesome, New Orleans is awesome, Texas is awesome, you know what I mean? But Oakland is its own thing. And I was gonna say, when I worked at the factory job, we would as people do, I was really good friends with all the people I worked with. We become a family of sorts, right? And so like when the Powerball lottery would get really big, we would all put in money, right? You know, and then we'd buy like 300 tickets and everyone would get a Xerox and we all go, oh, and on our lunch breaks, we would discuss what are you going to do when you get your money, right? Oh, I'm gonna do this. Oh, I'm gonna go to France. And mine was, I'm gonna get a real proper tour bus, right? Like a rock star tour bus. I'm gonna put all my best friends in it, and I'm gonna drive all over the whole continent of Canada, all the way down into South America, all over the United States. I'm gonna find the best place to live, and then I'm gonna build a mansion there, and all my friends are gonna come and live there. And that's what I did, except I didn't win the fucking lottery, man. I just did. I realized, like, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Right.
Okay, no tour bus. Okay. No $1 million. Okay. But I am going to drive all over, find the coolest place I can find, and I'm going to fucking live there, and I'm going to make art.
Sounds like your life right now, right?
And that's what I did. Yeah. So I cut to it, and yeah. So for listeners who are like just starting out, I have to ride with the caveat that I had a 10-year gap where I ate peanut butter and barely made rent, while I made painting after painting after painting for a very long time.
A stressful artist life.
It was pretty, I had to hustle. And luckily the Bay Area, you can like, in a lot of situations, just go out on the sidewalk at some parade or something and just sell your art. Unlike if you live in the middle of Pennsylvania or something, you can't really do that. Maybe you can, I don't know. But I moved to a big city with a lot of people and a lot of energy, and I was able to just barely make some money. And I also went back and forth to the Omega Institute in New York. And I worked there in the summers.
Okay. You did workshops with Alex.
I did a workshop every year with Alex and Allison
and Robert.
For 7 years. I was with, I visited with Robert Venosa and Martina Hoffman, who has become a good friend. Robert has passed away,
right?
Sadly, but Martina's one of our best friends.
Nice.
And yeah, Omega is great. Omega is.
I've never been.
It's cool, man. It's the biggest yoga and meditation retreat center in the country.
Oh wow.
It's
pretty chic-chic, right?
Yeah. No, it's pretty. It can be pretty granola. It depends how much money you have. You can get a really pimped out designer room, or you can just stay in a tent. With, they have different pay structures.
Okay,
so
cool.
If you want to take a workshop with Thich Nhat Hanh, you can pay $200 and sleep in a tent, and they give you meals, or you can pay $2,000 and sleep in a pimped room. So they get a whole, lots of different people come.
So how was living in Oakland?
Oakland has my heart forever. It's for Oakland, but
the
I'm
Bay
also
Area is awesome.
Yeah. Oakland's. I don't know what it's like now. I don't know. That time that I was there with those friends and those roommates.
What years?
I was there back and forth from 2005 until 2013.
Oh, amazing.
So
that's around the same time I was going to the Bay, like every year.
Yeah.
More San Francisco than Oakland, but
Yeah.
that was like the cool time. And
I feel like there was a lot going on there.
Well, it's always been cool for
Dubstep
some.
music, not that it's my favorite music, but I can get down. And dubstep music also came out.
Right.
The
That's
internet, as we said, also blew up at the same time.
The skateboard industry was in full effect back then.
Burning Man, all this stuff was, the Bay Area was the fucking hub.
Right.
The weed industry, which also supported visionary art heavily.
Right.
There was so much going on there all at once. And then you have this whole coffee shop, bar, 1960s support. Like,
Right.
It
Old
was,
school hippie.
Yeah, it was like a fucking nexus for cool shit.
Right.
Right at the right time. And now I think, all of those industries and areas have moved on sort of expanded, or I'm not sure if you move to the Bay today for your first time, if it'll have the same punch.
I don't think
that
so.
it
I
did
went a couple years
yeah.
ago, and the streets were empty during the day because everyone had taken their Google buses to the Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And, you know, more and more people can't afford to live there. Like, you know, it will always be beautiful and have a good vibe. Like, a lot of people are still there, but not like it was back then. you
Dude,
know?
I went back to visit my beloved roommates. Like, and the thing is, in Oakland, like your roommates are like your fucking, you know, probably the same thing in Montreal.
Right.
Like, the only way you could live there is you had 5-6 roommates, and even if you didn't know some of them, you became tight because you're all
Right.
because everyone's
It's the
from
struggle.
somewhere else, and they're all like, oh, you know,
Uh-huh.
and then. So one roommate is bartending, and you hook each other up, you know. So I would go live paint at my roommate's bartending gig, and then she would come, you know, back and forth. This like family vibe, and then we were friends with everybody on our block, and the whole thing. But I went back to my in 2015. I went back to my roommate's place, at a room where I paid $350 a month was $950 a month in a 3-year period. It jumped that much. Same fucked up room in the same fucked up neighborhood. So that gives you an idea of like how fucked up it got. Like it was just so cool that
yeah.
everything blew up.
Well, that's the problem with like gentrification, you know. Like it seems like
Yeah.
artists, you know, come to these places that are cheap enough for them to live. They make it cool, but then their punishment for making it cool is that then the people with money buy it off, and the artists get kicked out to the next spot. In this case, Oakland, from San Francisco to Oakland, and then they make Oakland cool, and then they gotta go to the next spot, and artists just keep on getting run out of all these towns that they actually made hip and cool. Or
well,
whatever.
Manhattan, Brooklyn,
Exactly.
same movement, same exact movement. Manhattan was shit in 1969 through 81. And then all these fucking artists blew it up, and then now they can't afford it. They moved to Brooklyn. Now Brooklyn you can't afford, and the whole scene is...
Right.
It's perhaps some kind of like evolution of ideas taking place. It's the natural progression of things. I don't know.
How to stop it? You know what artists are gonna stop being cool and doing their things or beautifying the streets? Like it's not natural. We want to do those things, and then you're like, oh, should we not do murals because we're gonna shoot ourselves on the foot? Or, but yeah.
Yeah, that mural you did in Denver, man. That was
At New Conscious?
at the New Conscious Gallery.
That was before like Denver
That was
blew
before
up so much.
that area. Maybe there was one mural down the street or something. Have you been there recently?
Yeah, I don't particularly like the mural that's there right now. and
No. But I'm talking about the entire
Oh, yeah.
half a mile radius.
It's like
there
street
is no
art
building without 10 murals on it.
Right.
And yeah, maybe it were something like dandelion seeds. You know, you
I
blow
wish
it in
my
and-
mural would have stayed there, like as the OG or whatever. But I understand that
Yeah.
street art, you know, just keeps on moving on. I'd love to get that wall back and just crush it again.
Yeah, I think it's under new ownership and all that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's cool that, you know, when I painted that mural back in 2013, I believe, just when weed had just been legalized, there wasn't much
Yeah.
happening, and now it's like the super
Yeah.
cool Rhino district where everything's happening.
Yeah.
So how
I
long
li-
did you stay
yeah.
in Oakland? Back to you. How long did you stay in Oakland, and then what made you come to Colorado, and when?
Oh yeah. Okay, so like I said, I would spend the summers at Omega, the Omega Institute. I would move back to Oakland in the winter, and then work on my art. And then Omega was really important to me, and a lot of my friends were there, so I would always go back. And then in 2011, I was becoming more of the dining hall manager than an artist. And I also I lost I had to leave, and I knew it, and so I quit in a very terrible way.
Oh no!
A very terrible way, and we don't have to go into it. But I left. I burned the bridge of that place. But then that sort of put the fire from the bridge that I burned caught on the back of my pants, and I went back to Oakland, and I was like, okay, now I have to live on art, so I did. And so that's kind of like important, like.
The dire need to make shit happen.
Yeah, hunger, man. If you're literally eating like a jar of peanut butter, and that's it, you either fail and then you have to get a fucking job, or you go like, I'm giving this everything, like everything. And I did, and thank God it worked. I was in the right place at the right time, and I was able to make enough money to begin my career. And that was 2011, so I'd been painting for 6 years already. Seriously.
Did you like blow up? My observation is that you finally got the attention of people when you went to Symbiosis 2011.
Yeah. So, shout out to my friend Eric, who...
Dela?
No. This is a patron. Eric grew up with Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons. And he had a little extra money, and he's big into ayahuasca and all these things. So he saw the Homer Simpson painting I'd made, and he wrote me an email, and he said, I'm going through a divorce. He's just like, I've never seen anything that just speaks to my life so much. He's like, how much do you want for that painting? And I said a few $1,000s, $6,000. I was like, $6,000 would change my life. But the painting was also like taking off online, and I kind of knew. I was like, this is.
How old was the painting at the time?
I just made it.
Okay.
2010.
So you didn't know how much it would blow up, really?
No, I didn't. But I knew at this point a little bit of worth, what art is worth. This is a 6-foot high painting. It's. I knew it was pretty good. And then when it went online, people were just like going nuts. And I was like, this is worth a little bit of money. But mind you, at the time, I was doing coffee shop shows and selling art for $200, $100. So I had this huge, awesome painting that was like taking off, which was like a total labor of love. I loved The Simpsons. I was tripping often with some really wonderful people. It was the best thing I could make, And I didn't make it simply for the star power of Homer, but I made it out of an earnest call to the universe. I'm here, baby.
This is what I gotta do, yo.
Yeah. So anyway, in 2011, my man, Eric. Well, yeah, I'll leave his last name out because I mentioned ayahuasca. But Eric, he gave me the money, $6,000, which was a lot at the time, and I turned around and bought $4,000 worth of prints, and I bought a booth with my friend Shady at Symbiosis Pyramid Eclipse. And as luck would have it, there was a huge storm the night before, and our booth went from the spot it was supposed to be, tucked back behind the cars, to this like corner spot where all of the 10,000 people at the festival had to walk by our booth in order to get to the music. So we were literally
primed.
And I had huge vinyl banners made of my art right there, and I'm getting choked up thinking about it. I didn't know what to expect, but everybody, like I'd only been to a couple festivals at that time, and I went and I'm like, oh, here's my art. Everyone fucking, like, the love that they showed me broke my heart, and we made all of our money back and then some. I was able to pay my friends handsomely for working there with me. And we immediately took that money and went to Lightning in a Bottle, and then another one, and another one, and another one. All the while I'm reinvesting the money, and it really, caught fire.
Beautiful. So
in the small world of festivals.
But still, the festival world was able to give you a launch. And what I think is cool is that you were doing art, and you were in New York, and you're trying to get it out there, but it might have been happening or not, but you're still getting better and better. But by the time you got to California, you had like a body of work.
Yeah.
Something, at least.
And my voice was really starting to come out.
You had a voice, and you had at least 10 to 15 to 20 good paintings that people can be like, oh shit, I can see what this dude's doing. It's not like you jumped in the scene like with one painting being like, okay guys, here I am. You came in with like a nice, Well,
I painted in obscurity at least 3 hours a day for 6 years.
Right. Well, I
You
like
know,
your
like,
approach, you know,
yeah.
because sometimes I find there's like a lot of young artists that don't really get good, but they already want to be famous, and they already launch themselves out, and they might even be successful at making themselves famous and whatnot, but the quality of work is not quite there. You kind of like held back, and by the time you got your exposure, you already had good shit going, so it kind of like drove you not straight to the top, but like pretty
Yeah.
much close up there. You know,
Yeah,
you saved a
and-
lot of years from like grinding up, you know.
And half of that was luck and location. It's weird that I grew up near Alex Gray. You know what I mean? Like I was really lucky to be able to hang out with them all the time. And they were at that time, you know, they'd just done the Tool albums and shit.
Are
They
you
were-
a Tool fan?
Oh yeah, I was a Tool fan. But I may have discovered them through Tool. No, no. I saw a documentary about Alex Gray on PBS. You know the
Alex Gray was on PBS?
he was in like 1995
Wow.
when his head was shaved, just for like a few minutes.
Interesting.
And yeah, I had the Sacred Mirrors book a
Were
long
you a
time
Bill
before.
Hicks fan also?
Absolutely.
So you got the
yeah.
like the like trilogy there, like
Absolutely.
Bill Hicks,
Bill Hicks,
Tool, and Alex Gray.
fucking Bill Hicks shaped my life. You know, before I got into meditation or any of the other spiritual stuff that's available to people, Bill Hicks spoke to me the most because I was eating mushrooms with my friends and we were going camping and stuff, and we were having these, you know, really important experiences. And then you go back to work and who knows what to do with it. But then people like Bill Hicks and Alex did something with it, you know, bring it out into the world. And I was like, I think I can do that. So yeah, that's what I tried to do.
So Alex was a big influence on you at the time.
Yeah, he's. I consider him one of my best friends. He's definitely a unique, fiercely intelligent, very kind, open person.
Right.
And yeah, I really like him.
I love
uh,
Alex.
Yeah, he's something
Like
else.
it's weird how he's like super big and famous and like whatnot.
I was
you
hanging out with them when there were fucking 5 people at the full moon gatherings, man. Like,
Oh no way.
You know, yeah,
Like
yeah.
in Manhattan.
yeah, yeah.
I
Not
made it
5, maybe 10, 20, but
I made it to Manhattan, but like there was already like a nice grip of people and it was getting
Yeah,
pretty intense. But
no, he's a special guy. He's a modern day Dali, I think. I think if any of us are going to, you know, go down in history, if you had to stop it right now, they put his name in the books. He's
Right.
something else. He's something else. He's just his own entity, and I was really lucky to hang around with him and model. Not just that. They are community builders. Alex and Allison say, "Come on over to our house. We're gonna have an art party." You know, like
Right.
who the fuck has art parties? You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
So I would go and then meet all these other artists, and at different levels of success and different levels of exposure. But you find your own boundaries and voice on that proverbial dance floor of all these artists, and then. And yeah, they were always supportive of me. They were one of the first people to buy a painting off of me.
really, they bought a painting from you?
Yeah, they did. It
Which
blew
one?
my mind.
Which one?
It's the Akashic Kiss. It's a red painting of 2 people kissing.
Oh yeah, it's in the
Looks
it's
like
a
they have
cafeteria.
it hanging at Cosm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That's cool.
Yeah, I wrote to Allison and said like, hey, I want to sell this painting, but I don't know what my paintings are worth. What do you think I should sell it for? And she's like, well, I said I was thinking maybe $800, you know, and she just wrote back, sold. Bring it over. And I was like, oh, cool. So I don't know. They've always strained. Like I said, I've been
That
really.
painting's kind of Alex Grayish too.
Yeah. Well, there's a moon in it.
But
and,
you know, and
yeah.
kissing, but interdimensional.
Well, there's
intertwined.
universal subjects like kiss. Like, what are you gonna paint, right?
Right.
You
It
paint
was your
love, you
own,
paint-
your own vision of that inner energy of entanglement through kissing and stuff.
Yeah. At one time, I wrote down like, what are the 10 most important things to paint about? Because like, if you're gonna make a painting, make it about the most important thing you can.
Making out has to be in there.
Yeah, kissing is
It's an
huge.
important situation for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing. Some people can pull it off. Some artists can pull it off, and some artists pull off nonsense, and that's their whole thing. Some artists pull off oh, I'm going to leave a garbage can in the middle of a room. Oh, I like art that I'm particularly drawn to art, particularly impressed by art that addresses the most important thing authentically that you can come up
Right.
with. So at one point I made a list. I was like, well, tripping really blew me away. Having sex is really amazing. The galaxy, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And then I just proceeded to make paintings about these things,
That's very
consciousness
smart.
itself. Yeah. Yeah, some people can pull it off, but if you just paint a dolphin and people go, why did you paint the dolphin? You go,
Dolphins are cool.
Yeah, dolphins are cool.
Yeah.
That, I don't
it
know.
will sell.
Yeah, it'll sell.
Well,
Well, then you're pushing like being a hack, and I
And
didn't
that's why
want to
you're a
be
great
a hack.
artist. And that's why I love you. And that's why you're one of my best friends, you know? Because you're for real, dude.
Cheers, buddy.
Choo.
Hey. Yeah. Do we have to block the label?
Yeah, why? What? Model's gonna sue you for drinking on my YouTube show? I'm drinking Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Are you gonna sue me or are you gonna sponsor
Sponsor!
me? Yeah. All right, so let's get back to your story. So
Okay,
we were
yeah, sorry.
at what? Symbiosis, and then festivals, and living
Yeah,
in
so-
Oakland, the Cali life. What happened that all of a sudden?
How did I get to Colorado? Sorry.
Right.
What a digression. My
It's
bad.
all right, dude. Like, tell me all of your story.
So, yeah, so I found a lot of support. I was having a lot of fun. And I was still having art shows, local art shows in Oakland and shit. But there were coffee shop shows, small galleries, you know, little hip barbershop galleries and shit. They have a wonderful art walk in Oakland. And I lived in the middle of the art walk. My house was there, so it was like perfect. But that's sort of scrounging a living. And then I was going out to all these different festivals, and then I made friends at those festivals, and then I started getting invited. And then I started getting invited and getting paid to go to festivals. So, you know, you had the similar transition. It's like, that was really cool. And then at one of those festivals, our dear friends Papadosio at Rootwire, I met Morgan Mandala, who was one of the 40 or so artists that they had invited. And we were fond of each other, but then, you know,
It was wrong timing for you.
wrong timing for a romantic relationship, and then it was the right timing. My relationship with my dear ex dissolved, and Morgan's relationship was dissolving at the same time, and my father passed away, sadly, and I was in this like crazy spot. So Rootwire 2013, a year later, Morgan and I just clicked, and we were available, and then we talked on the phone every day for 3 hours for months, like 5 months. And then it was like, you know, you can either move to California and be here in this scene, or she was living here with Crystal Eyes. There was a lot of artists hanging out here.
In the Pyramid House.
Yeah, at the Pyramid House. There's a lot of cool shit going on here. And so we kind of more or less, flipped a coin, and I was like, I'll move out with you, and let's give Colorado a
I
try.
didn't know that you came out here to be closer to Morgan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, she could have.
It's kind of lucky for you because then
Yeah.
Colorado became the next big visionary hub
Yeah.
after Cali.
I know. Well, maybe it followed me. You know.
Ah, you made it happen.
No, well, like I said, the gentrification of Oakland was happening. Rent was going up, and then there was this like rather personal, if I can be blunt, just practical matter of my apartment was like 2 blocks away from my ex's apartment where I used to live. So it was like, Morgan, do you want to come and live with me, and then we'll see my ex-partner every day at the coffee shop, or maybe I should get out of the neighborhood.
Right.
And then at the same time, rent was going up, and all these things were happening. And so yeah, I left my darling Bay Area, which I the sunset over the Golden Gate Bridge and all of that will always be part of me. But I also, the city's rough, you know. You get fucked up, your car gets broken into.
dangerous.
You see
It was
people
more
who are
dangerous back
down
then
and out
too,
all
right?
the time. Yeah, yeah. I was lucky to get out unscathed, but you know, and you're cool in your neighborhood. It's just when you end up in a neighborhood, that's not yours after hours, like you gotta watch it in Oakland. And then in Boulder, you gotta watch out for bears, you know, but they're not like.
What a difference.
I feel like, yeah, I was sort of ready for a sort of like retirement in my own sphere of life. Like,
Not retirement, but change.
not retirement, but yes, calm things down a little bit.
Right.
Oakland and San Francisco are fucking rad, you know?
Right.
But it's hustle,
But
bustle.
it's hustle. You
Yeah,
gotta
it's the whole
fucking
thing.
keep up a rhythm.
And here it's way more relaxed. There's mountain time, you know, it's similar to Hawaii, you know. If you don't get to it today, you'll get to it tomorrow. Grow a beard and, you know, relax. Also, mountain people, neighbors here, because of fires and floods and all these things, they tend to be more outreaching and friendly in general. We keep to our own business, but yeah, sorry if I'm going a little long. I'm feeling good. Just
No,
keep
I
talking.
love
Yeah.
your story. Like, it's easy. I'm not even looking at my questions anymore. I'm just letting you roll and tell the beautiful story of your artistic path, which is very interesting and inspiring. But basically, you fell in love with Morgan,
Yeah.
and you moved to Boulder. And
Yeah,
you
and
lived
then-
in the Pyramid House with all these other awesome visionary artists. This is like, what, around 2013?
13, 14, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like when visionary art was starting to rise
really
up a little
find
more.
its home, I think,
Right.
even. Like, going to festivals for, some 50, 100 of us is our job at that point. As opposed to 2005, where it's like, oh, where do I sell my art? You know, like,
Right.
by 2014, things are rolling. Like, we're a staple. And again, one more shout out to Docio. Rootwire's photography of that line, that was the only time I'd ever seen anything like that.
That picture where it's all the canvases and then my murals at the top, and then
80 live painters and then the band small, you know.
Right.
Um,
That's a great one.
they had that image. I truly believe.
You can't do that anymore. Or you
Yeah.
can do it, but it wouldn't be as special at that time when everybody's just kind of be like, we're trying out this thing and see what happens. Like, all the artists there were kind of like new. It was like I find, like, say, like, visionary art is as old as humanity itself. There's many stages and there's classical visionary art, but in
Yeah.
this little bubble of visionary art that we live here in North America, you got Alex Gray, Robert Venosa, Matty Clark Wayne as the elders. Then there's that next generation, which is like, Carrie Thompson, Luke Brown, Amanda Sage, myself, Roman, and then Rootwire kind of like brought the next generation, which are like 5 to 10 years younger, which was like Morgan and Della
Yeah.
and Emily.
Countless. I mean, they
Yes.
invited something like 80 artists.
And all those artists are kind of big right now, or pretty
yeah.
big, like,
Yeah.
Mr. Melty,
Yeah.
etc. But that's when they were just coming out. And I was like, holy shit, like, I didn't even know there was that many other visionary artists, but it was just a different generation. It was kind of like a introduction to a new generation. And it was their springboard to kind of launch. I think in that festival, the elders were just Amanda, Roman, and me
Yeah.
doing a collabo on stage.
No, I did the collab with them, but that was strange because we had just hooked Amanda up with the Grays, and so there was this like I'll scratch your back kind of thing. I was also becoming really good friends with Anthony, the singer of Papadosio. So they were like, okay, there's this thing, this mural. You had your giant mural on the left.
I think
and
I'm
then,
confusing the next Rootwire.
Right.
But yes, I was
Yeah.
painting on stage with you guys, but I had my own kind of like spray paint thing I was
Yeah.
doing, and you guys had.
But that first one, we went up there. I was out of place. I was like with Amanda and Roman, and I was like, why am I here? I
but
was really
it's because
like,
you're old enough, and you've
Yeah.
actually been doing the work, but in the underground.
yeah.
As I said, when you came out, you got bumped up to the top quite quick,
right.
even though you weren't in the scene for that long. But because of your quality of art, and the quality of art should be what speaks, not like who you know or
Yeah.
whatever,
I do attribute some of it to being, whether it's a psychological shortfalling where I like have to manipulate people to love me, or whether I'm genuinely charismatic, and I do really care about people, and I made as much effort into making friends and having an open heart
Dude, you're just a nice guy. I don't think you're trying to convince anybody to like you. You're just like very nice, charismatic, open-hearted dude.
Yeah, I try to make everything good, and some of that was like helping too. To inadvertently help me along, and yeah, before I knew it, I was getting invited to all kinds of stuff because I try to be friendly. I don't know. I knew artists,
but still, friendly people. A lot of people can be friendly or even pretend to be friendly.
Yeah.
You were nice. There's a vibe that you know who's authentic and who's real, and also who's putting down the work to do some quality artwork that you are, you have done and you still are doing. So don't put yourself down too much there. But anyways, let's move on.
It's
with
hard
the
to know
story.
yourself from the outside. I don't really know what's going on. But that was cool that I got invited to paint with those two, and it was
that painting actually ended up being a mess. No matter who painted it.
When we got off stage, I remember I took a lot of acid that night too, and I was like, and it was a full moon, and I was just like, it was the first. I was on stage in front of 4,000 people. I've never had anything like that happen, and I was just barely. I was hanging on to the canvas and painting.
Are you like on stage in front of thousands of people, painting with these people you respected on too much acid? Oh my God, dude.
And we were backstage headbanging to the music. I don't know if you remember that. But anyway.
I was stoked. Like the picture of me doing, like spray painting that thing with like a crowd of people behind me. That was the first time I was like, oh my God, I feel like a rock star. With fucking Papadosio playing such a good set. I still got that live set, and I listened to you like, wow, I can't believe I live painted.
I listened to it on YouTube recently. I went back and I was like, oh God, damn.
It was a really good vibe.
Yeah, they really brought it.
Yeah, that was a good festival.
Yeah, and then so then I have this photo of me with thousands of people behind. That's really important. And it feels like an accident at the time, or you kind of know your shit. You had every right to be up there making that mural, but then you get this sort of like, this emblem of what you're doing, and for some reason that just adds to your clout and sort of opens more doors. But it was
the thing with the art career. It's almost like you don't have to, but it helps if you prove how much other people like your art, so then more people give you opportunities.
Yeah.
And I guess like if you had that picture of you painting in front of thousands, that kind of showed other festivals like, oh shit, this guy's beloved, let's give him a chance too.
Yeah.
The more you succeed, the more success comes to you.
Yeah. And then you start, you stop getting nervous. Being on stage is like, it's okay, you calm down, and then you can really work,
And you have fun, and you start dancing and shit.
And that culminated when I was eating mushrooms with my friends in the woods. Spangle, the music Spangle, Simon Posford and Roger Ram, was the theme song of my spiritual life. I was like, oh, I love these guys so much. And like every naive fan, I thought we might be friends, and I thought I might meet them someday. But you think this about actors, and you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I get them so much. I bet we would be friends.
Right.
But we eventually became friends with them and painted on stage with Spangle. And
that was awesome. Like, when was that? That was at Red Rocks?
No, here in Denver at the Fillmore, and then again in Australia, thanks to the wonderful team at Rainbow Serpent Festival. They hooked us up, and that was a cool 30,000 crowd, and that was a bit much to. I almost want to say,
you by yourself or with Morgan?
With Morgan, but I almost want to say something. If not snapped, something clicked inside me where I realized that was the only thing I had ever really wanted out of this art game, was to meet my heroes and then do this epic thing. And
create with the creators that inspire you to start creating to start with.
Yeah. But there was a bit of a personal dip after that, because I was like, oh, well, I
you achieved your goals.
I should have shot a little high. So the last few years have been now okay, so what do you want? What do you really want? Where are you going? You know, and that turns out to be more kind of subtle relationship between me and art, which I wouldn't necessarily expect. I would think maybe, oh, go shoot for the stars, but I'm more. It's become more intimate, my relationship with art. I don't give as much of a fuck about the art, what people think of it, and
You're just doing your thing.
doing my thing. Yeah, it's hard to explain. I don't even know what I'm doing, but my trajectory went from out to sort of in. And
More
now,
self-satisfied.
yeah, well, my pursuit of art now is not to be accepted by the outside world, but for me to accept art and my own life and mortality. It's getting. Art is a wonderful boat to get in and go out into the ocean in. Do you find yourself drinking more during COVID?
Have I been drinking more from COVID?
Yeah.
In Peru, yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean,
Like in Peru,
'Cause you're on
like we were
lockdown.
locked down and my dad just had like wine and champagne.
yeah.
And we weren't drunk like every day, but at least once or twice a week. And that kind of got me on a roll that once I went back home to Montreal and I was by myself and I went through like the breakup with Ariane and the engagement and I was kind of like a lonely and sad. I would just fucking like go to the park and drink a 6-pack by myself as I was painting. Once or twice a week, nothing like out of control alcoholic mode, but definitely more than before where I would never drink. Like I didn't, like I was over that. I don't know. And
Well, I think us, like millions of other people, found a lot of comfort in
sedating ourselves.
yeah. I mean, you're stuck on the internet. You're just home.
Have you drunken more during COVID?
Yes, absolutely. I went from a 6-pack on the weekend to
It's a thing.
having an unending supply of beer in the refrigerator, so that it also goes with when you live in the mountains. You don't just grab a baguette and tomato at the supermarket. You go down and get supplies.
Right.
When you live in the mountains, so a lot of
So
that.
you grab a lot of alcohol.
Yeah. So during COVID, we were going. We also got 50 rolls of toilet paper and a huge bag of rice, and you're like, oh well, we should get 3 cases of beer, so because we're doing a run.
You're one of those toilet
And then-
paper people, huh? You're just like,
No,
oh, the toilet
no,
paper, I'm gonna shit.
We need all the toilet paper because we live in the mountains. So it's under control. It's nothing like too crazy. I've really enjoyed during COVID. I have some drinks and then I'll go live on Instagram and draw or paint and really try. I started like because I was kind of loose and just lonely. Start talking to people on the live and I've had some cool connections, man. People are great. Like,
I like getting a little bit drunk as long as it doesn't like take over my life and become the source of my happiness. Letting a little bit the vibe out there, I think it's fine. It's about like that middle ground where I can just have a little bit of fun. Like right now we got a buzz on, it's cool.
Yeah.
We're still like present enough to have this conversation and make it a fun one for our viewers. But not like get fucking like, hey, motherfucker, and say a bunch of bullshit, you know?
Yeah. Also, steer clear of any hard liquor. I have a friend who is only. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's only, I don't know, 33 years old, who was drinking like a bottle of Jameson every day, and then he died. He passed away.
Yeah, it's not healthy.
After about a month of doing that. Yeah. So.
A month?
Yeah, it wasn't long. It was 2
damn.
months maybe.
Oh.
But your body can't handle that kind of
It's a
hard liquor.
toxin. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a like everything else. It's a sticky relationship with alcohol. Like you want to have fun with your life. Same thing for bacon. Same thing for sugar. Same thing for traveling. For sex. For anything. Like
Too much of anything.
too much. Yeah.
It's no good.
But yeah, this year has been unprecedented.
Right. It was a tricky year and a hard year, and sometimes you just gotta kind of like find ways to chill out the situation because
Yeah.
we're fragile human beings and we want to stay to some degree of happiness. Like when all that shit happened to me a couple of months ago between my former shaman and my former student, I was fucking depressed, and I don't think I could have done it without alcohol. I was getting drunk
Yeah.
almost every day just because the pain was so hard that I needed to at least take a break from the pain. Give me like 3-4 hours of just like laying in the sun drunk with my parents by the swimming pool to not feel pain, and then I'll go and resume and continue the feelings going through. If not, I'm not gonna say I was gonna suicide, but whatever feeling makes you suicidal, those feelings were going through my body. And I'd say a little bit of beer is kind of like, soften that edge.
Well, I'm sorry first for all the people hurt in that situation, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that, man. You're a golden bro, and yeah.
It's all good. Like everything happens for a reason. I'm grateful for every blessing and growth and healing that happened through it, and I wish everybody to heal. Once again, that was my whole message along the time. Forgiveness and healing, and just like we all are just trying to get back to God, you know, and we make a million mistakes on our path. All of us.
The late Ram Dass said, we're all just walking each other home.
Yeah, that's the best quote,
Yeah.
And we fucking step on a million little rocks and sticks, but
yeah,
let's
that's
keep
the
on
thing
trying.
about cancel culture, like, leaving the details of that situation out of it.
Yeah, there's a million other situations we can talk about, not
so many
just mine.
situations. Yeah. But what I'm afraid of with that, and I don't really want to speak on it too much because it's just so.
Then you'll get canceled.
Yeah, it's so vibrant right now.
You don't like cancel culture? You're canceled.
It's a live wire right now, the whole thing. But there's more nuanced relationships with human beings, and like thank God for podcasts like this. This is the thing: a photograph of you and I doing whatever can be construed this and that way, and then everyone can make comments and A 3-hour conversation with you and I, people go, oh, there's nuance, there's ups and downs to this thing, there's human beings on the other end, and I really think I'm really appreciative for this like flush of podcasts that's happened along with all of the other crazy shit that's gone on, because
That's a communication.
they're holding it. Joe Rogan's holding it down. He's holding the train track down right now in a lot of ways. I mean,
Channeling a certain kind of energy into the mainstream.
yeah,
That couldn't happen.
we need people who are liberal/conservative, spitting the truth in long form. Because this idea that why are politics so popular? Why, you know what I mean? It isn't, politics have become like the Academy Awards, is this big, shiny thing. Anyway, we're all in a lot of trouble here with social media. Long form conversation is a shining hope, or at least some sort of probiotic defense against where the world could go. Instagram comments are not the place to have in-depth discussions about
how to save the world.
issues.
You can't save the world on an Instagram comment.
Can you imagine having an argument with someone where all you did was leave yellow Post-it notes back and forth and you never saw their face? Where, like, if you talk to them for 10 minutes, face to face, issues fucking squashed, I'm worried about it, and I don't think, I'm not that worried about it. I think that it's playing itself out.
It has to hit a wall at some
MySpace
point.
played itself out. Napster played itself out. AOL played itself out. taking people down on Twitter and Instagram is playing itself out.
It
and
has
we're
to end at
seeing
some
it
point.
happen.
Like I can't see this happening for the rest of
Well,
humanity.
it isn't human existence.
Because it's just random people deciding, okay, I'm the judge of what's good and wrong, and I'm throwing it on you.
Yeah. And like I grew up in the 1980s. When someone did something wrong, you got your friends and your cousin who's a little bigger, you know, in a car, and you went with a baseball bat and you drove over to their house and you said, come outside, we have a problem.
Right.
And you settled it that day. And that's not necessarily, I know that's old school. I know that's sort of brutish to say it that way.
But it ends quick.
But yeah.
In Peru, there's a festival where one day a year, people fight it out. It's like today's the day we just all fucking bash each other, but the rest of the year, we're chill.
Yeah.
You know, because we got our negativity out, and now we're supposed to just be chill and just, I don't know if that's like the most smartest way to go about society, but you know, it's coming, the release of negativity is coming in other ways right now, and with social media, it seems like it could devastate people's lives almost.
Yeah. Well, I do a thing now where I just don't engage. If I engage, it's for the most important stuff, like a lot of these issues, I want to be careful. And
they're well-intentioned.
No, but a lot of stuff doesn't require your participation or your opinion. And I just, I've been playing around personally with like, especially when I'm jazzed up on something, oh, I want to comment on that. I'm like, what happens, Randall, instead, if you close your laptop and go for a 20-minute walk with the dog and maybe smell some flowers and then come back, have some coffee, and then open the laptop again. Do you still feel that this is necessary? Yeah, because this little screen isn't where your life is happening. Your life is happening out here with the chickadees
inside,
and the chipmunks
as you said before.
and your heart beating. Yeah,
And I think that's what we were talking about before we took our intermission, is that you're not looking for this outer success so much and the approval of the world, but like I'm looking for an internal self-satisfaction through my art. And it's the same with this whole thing of like, am I right, am I wrong? I'm wherever I'm at in my level of learning about how to go back to source. And you can't let like the million voices of the internet tell you that you're good, bad, etc.
I forget who said it, but like, people are stupid. People like Taylor Swift. People like Arby's. You know what I mean? People are full of shit. They suck. You don't want the fucking the consensus from everybody on like what you are doing. And then
you don't like Taylor Swift? I wouldn't know what song she plays.
Yeah, none are occurring to me right now. I'm sorry about this microphone.
Yeah, it's okay. Microphones happen.
So like, at the end of the day, it sounds corny perhaps, but it's about love, and it may sound sort of well-worn, but you have to look at yourself in the mirror. And I mean, quite literally, I hadn't done that in years. And as I get older, as I move through different changes, I've started again, instead of simply brushing your teeth, make eye contact with yourself in the mirror.
And shoot that motherfucker some love.
Yes, and give him some love and give love to the people in your life. But that relationship has very little to do with the internet and what's going on the internet.
Right. That's been my biggest journey, is to not observe myself through the eyes of others who don't even know myself. That was like my biggest journey, like on my whole life, but even in the past few months, it's like, I know who I am. I know I'm good. Why do I have to observe myself through some stranger that doesn't even know what's inside me?
Well, we're very elaborate social creatures. We're like, have you ever been around chickens?
Enough, but I don't.
They all chew on each other and fuck each other up, and they're racist, which is interesting. All the big fluffy white chickens or brown chickens will fuck up the little speckled ones, or the big, whatever, in whatever situation.
They stick with what looks like them.
Yeah, and somehow that's the and so this is the comparison I want to make, and I'm not drawing comparisons to race in human society. But with chickens, they understand what color they are from the reactions so all the brown ones and all the speckled ones will hang out in their own groups because they learn through the reactions of the other ones what they are. So please divorce all racist connections to that. What I'm saying is, human beings realize who we are through relationship with everyone in our lives, and in fact, we do a lot of our thinking outside of our mind, which is fucking nuts when you think about it. Let's say, hey Chris, I'm thinking about getting a piercing. I'm thinking about getting a piercing on my lip. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? I don't know if I should get, would that look cool? And so I bounce it off of you, I bounce it off my mom, I bounce it off another good friend, and then I decide, oh, I'm going to get the piercing or I'm not going to get the piercing. We all do this on every nuanced level of our lives. And so in a lot of ways, you're living in the minds of all of the people in the sort of carousel around you. And it's really difficult to pinpoint what your actual ideas are, what you really think is cool, what you really think is right. We have to bounce that off of everyone, which opens the door to like, be connected, be open, be aware to everybody in your life, and then the greater community of the world. One love tribe worldwide, baby.
Hell yeah!
You know, like, you don't know who you are without other people. And then we just carelessly hurl stones at other people. They're fucking defining you. It's so difficult when someone does a shitty move in traffic to go, oh, there I am. I get it right 1 out of 100 times. Don't let me preach to you, because but I aspire to it. And I recognize it. The only thing that's true is that we're here all together. We're gonna die. Try to be nice to each other. Like, there's nothing else going on.
Try.
Just try.
And we will fail.
Yeah,
we will fail because some days you're feeling great, other days you're feeling shitty, and you just don't have control over yourself as much as on the good days.
Well, people who are like serial killers and child molesters, we need to lock them away because they're incapable of interacting with everyone else. But everyone else, you know, some people are going to run over a puppy with their car, or some people, but you have to get a chance to, and this is why cancel culture is so crazy, is like, you can't stone a person to death for stealing an apple. Like, if they keep stealing apples, okay, address it and put them away. But if they stole one apple, like, let's all take a deep breath, give them a chance to redeem themselves, and then we can move on, maybe.
Because the goal is that they learn their lesson and they become a better person, not to just remove them from existence and to have a depressed, shitty rest of human life for a few
Well, there should
decades.
be a line where it's like, no, this person needs to be removed.
Right. Depends on the crime.
But that line, I think, is really fucking hot. Yeah, they cut someone's head off in the middle of the town.
Of the bus.
Yeah, yeah.
That time that Greyhound
Let's
bus.
remove them and, keep them over there.
Yeah.
But I think underneath that line, we need some nuance and some space.
Right, because we all make mistakes. We all got good and bads, and we gotta have compassion, understanding, forgiveness to some degree. Like, even the whole prison system is all about, like, are we really making people feeling better by being locked up all these years? Are they gonna come out to be good people, or are they just becoming even more criminal by living in that environment and surrounded by other
prison
criminals?
is criminal college, right?
Right. Like, at least in the United States, not in Norway, not in many places in Europe. You know, we should heal people. That's my belief. That's what I want to see in the world. I want to see more healing, less traumatizing.
Well, that's why I started making art in the first place. Was like, what can I do with my life to do very little harm, but also not, some people are drawn to moving to the Congo and doling out soup. I wasn't that strong in my 20s. I didn't feel strong enough to, but I was like, well, I'm really good at drawing. And then I looked at all the boxes. I'm like, well, I can do it till I'm 100 years old. It's not hurting anyone. I'm in this lineage of kind and smart people since, like you said, since the cave paintings. And I chose art, and I stand by art, and art has held my hand, through it.
Totally.
And now,
you can use art to make a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
You can go to a disadvantaged country to paint in a place where there's a lot of separation and make them happy through your art too. It could be a charity.
But the internet does a thing where it's like, don't you know the paints that you're using are these toxic chemicals and the factories are, and it's like, hey man.
Everything has a price. Every move, every breath has...
Every pleasurable thing. We were talking about this on our hike earlier.
Right.
You simply being here is more or less an act of violence to
nature.
At least the 200 million creatures that you wash off your body in the shower every day so you don't get sick. Like, it's a tough sell. Nature is a tough situation. We're very lucky to be here. And I think being nice to everyone is...
It's a good foundation for trying our best to be good human beings.
Yeah.
And human beings in general, we're in transitioning into a kind of consciousness that helps us understand better what we should do in order to be in better harmony with the consciousness of the planet we live on. And I think we will get there. But we also got to accept ourselves in the stage we're at right now.
Yeah.
And not,
this is the first time the whole globe is connected for the first time. I mean, starting relatively recently. First it was telephones, but the internet is a whole other ballgame. And the internet has made this Earth one town. So now it's just one town. That neighborhood over there has become the whole globe. And
right.
It may take 20 years, it may take 2,000 years. We will end up being one planet. But we're lucky enough and maybe unlucky enough to be part of the very first part of that. So when the mosh pit breaks out at the concert, it's like like the whole world is like just together immediately. But yeah, I for one choose art.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, let me make you some art questions now.
Yeah, sure.
I can't even remember where we were at in the question here. I gotta go these questions.
Oh well, Morgan, I fell in love with.
You came.
I didn't just fall in love with Morgan, and I were very lucky as a couple to recognize, like, holy crap, I've never met anyone that. Well, I don't want to.
You resonated with her.
We just got each other on a bizarre level from day one, and we were just like, why don't we make art together?
How many years have you been with her now?
More than 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I hope I
years.
am that lucky that I'll find my artistic partner on the road.
I'm so lucky. Morgan is the calmest.
She's so chill.
Yeah, she's incapable of arguing. She's very patient. She's very calm and very sweet. So she puts up with all my crazy. I tend to be a little manic, and she can handle it. And and then on top of that, we have a lot of the same artistic ideas. We have a lot of the same goals. Our careers are
intertwined. In the last episode with her, she was talking about your collabos and making art together and just playing. And
the first time we painted together, we were like, "Oh man, we're done.
It's over."
You know what I mean? It's over. Yeah. You've collabed with a bunch of people,
including yourself.
We made a painting together, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it's hard work. For whatever reason, everyone's creative process is so crazy different. Hers and mine were peanut butter and jelly, and we were like, okay, well, this is gonna work. And then we just fell more and more in love with each other, and the rest is history. We are partners.
Beautiful. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
So I want to talk more about your art. What's your art about, Randall? I know each painting has its own subject matter, and then you got your whole series of eyes, and then you got your collabos that are these vortexes of nothingness and everythingness, and
I guess the biggest piece, when you say that, the biggest thing that comes to me that's always been there is Mark Twain, write what you know. I just tried to make art that's about the coolest stuff I could come up with. When we teach our workshops, I tell the young artists, so if you, you're cool, right? You're cool. All your friends think you're cool. You think they're cool. You have a good relationship. So what's cool, right? So like if you wanted to make a store, let's say you have the opportunity to turn an old gas station into a store, and everyone's going to drive by and see it, and you get to have stuff in the store. What would you sell in the store? If you chose all of the coolest stuff that you could think of, let's say kung fu movies on videotape, Transformer toys, these really awesome organic hot dogs, and then
a couple of skateboards in the mix, please.
Skateboards, but a sort of tapestry of random items, but they're all the coolest things. You sit down and make your list of these are the 100 coolest things that I can think of that are real to me, and they're mine. And you're the only person who thinks those 100 things are cool. You put those things all into a store. You put the sign up, open. Once people start driving into your store and going in, they're going to go out to all of their friends and they'll go, "You'll never believe. I went to this
store's
store.
got Transformers.
It's got Transformers and Kung Fu movies on videotape, and they had all of these cool things. They had these weird handmade necklaces and pots and all. And so basically, if you follow the script of like, what is the most important things to me, and then put them all in a basket, no one can really deny that basket, I don't think. But you have to authentically go like, seriously, what's the coolest thing? So you put them all in, and that's been my approach to art, which is also why my art's so detailed and so, it's literally a sort of cornucopia of everything I can think of that's like the best stuff. And some of it is a little elusive, and you'd have to, like, why did he put the hand there or whatever? I'd have to tell you the story. But the overall picture, I guess, is a basket of me giving the best things I could come up with.
The things that you love the most.
Yeah.
It's almost like that question that you hear in a lot of interviews. What inspires your art? We hate that question because it's just so long and complicated, but it's like exactly what you just explained.
Yeah.
I love so many things, and all those things I just want to throw it at my artist expression.
And you sort of run it through a filter too. You're like, is this... I often paint for my little brother, my younger brother. When we were growing up, he could draw really well too, and we were also into Dungeons and Dragons and music and video games and all these cool things. And even though he was younger than me, he turned me onto LSD when I was in my mid-20s, like pretty late in the game. Anyway, often when I make a painting, I'll think of him. Or even the child version of him, and I'm like, I hope he thinks this is cool. That's a good jump off point for an artist. Have someone you love in mind and be like, I'm trying to blow their mind. I'm trying to blow their mind. Yeah. Because if you can, that's the authentic thread into what's fucking real. You know what I mean? If you're just trying to make stuff, I hope somebody likes this. It's different than saying...
Who's that somebody?
Yeah.
It's too many people, and you got to do it really for yourself or the ones that you love, at least.
You have to thread your heart into the canvas. So the needle goes into your heart, the thread comes out into the canvas, and then back and forth and back and forth.
Hell yeah.
And then you look at it and you go, is this real? Am I bullshitting myself? Am I bullshitting? No, I can stand by this. Okay. There's the art. It's done. And that's how I operate. And some paintings are failures and some are good, but I always go by like, I don't know, a low level pursuit of the truth.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So tell me a little about our collaboration. There are really good collaboration ones. I'd say it's one of my favorite collaborations. Do you remember much about the story about how we came together to make this piece that truly embodies visually our bromance? you
Yeah,
know?
our bromance, baby.
Which is what we called it.
Yeah, I do remember clearly that whole story. That I had made a painting, and I had done. We sort of like either consciously or unconsciously steal bits from artists that we like, and I had. We weren't very close at the time, but we had been corresponding, and I had a little element of my painting that I thought was like pushing it. It was just one little part, but it was kind of the central part of the painting. And it was very reminiscent of your stuff. And I was eager to find my own voice, and I was eager to not step on anybody's toes. And I actually just shot you an email, and I was like, yo, man, is this stepping over the line? Like, do you mind this little face? It was a little face looking up in
An
rapture.
ecstatic face.
Yeah, and I was like, I bit this off of Chris, but I think it's okay because I nestled it in all my
And
own
something
shit.
else,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And you wrote back and you were like, oh, dude, it's totally fine. Like I love it. Like that painting's gonna be great, and da da da. And then you'd done a mural in Boulder when I moved here, and it was on a plywood panel.
It's like a
attached to
glass
building.
shop.
Yeah, attached to Case Ass's glass shop. And a vandal had come along. Again, we weren't so close. We'd hung out a few times, but I didn't really know you as like the friend I know now. And a vandal had come along and they tried to rip the whole thing down, but they broke it in half by ripping it.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as a favor, I was like, hey man, do you want me to like put another board up and paint the other half of this face that broke? And you said, nah, I'm coming to Colorado. Why don't we fucking just do a painting of the two faces split down the middle? And I was like, brilliant.
Yeah,
So,
and I think I sketched it as like two dudes giving each other knucks.
yeah,
And-
yeah.
And then
No,
I
you
gave
came
it to
in and
you.
just blew it out. Like,
I came with the concept of the composition, and then I gave it to you, and you did it all in your filigree, flowy style. Like, you're more loose than me, and
Yeah.
I like that because I got my thing, but it's kind of anal sometimes.
You're like a machine. You just print your art out.
Right.
Like, I wish I could paint
you
like that.
just fucking go and flow, and that loosened me up. So a
Yeah.
little bit of your vibes got into mine, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And it came out like a really beautiful painting that still, every time I post it, people are going nuts about it.
It's one of my favorite paintings. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah,
And,
I'm happy it still sits in my apartment. I don't care it didn't sell. If it sells, cool. But I get to look at it, and hey, if you want to borrow it at one point, that's cool too, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's yeah. I have no problems with that painting. I think it's pretty perfect. We also sewed together. We got Montreal and Colorado,
Right.
and a little me and a little you, and then it does point in the center of the canvas, up off the canvas. The white light shoots up, and I think that's what we're both going for, is like to
Enlightenment, illumination,
Yeah.
going
the trick,
past.
the trick to enlightenment is not attaining enlightenment, but always going toward.
Yeah, well, that's
enlightenment.
like you have to have that intention and general direction without being like, I gotta be enlightened,
Yeah.
because of that like want is gonna get in between actually the letting go of letting happen whatever has to happen for you to become whatever you need to become. You can't force that shit.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah, you
we'll
jump
see
in the
what
river.
happens.
Well, that's crazy because the new sort of more abstract stuff I'm doing is the same thing. It's the beam of light going up off the canvas, but it's obscured under all these flowers and things. But if you look at the structure of the paintings I've been doing, it's the same.
Yeah, just like
aspiring
going higher,
beam of light. Yeah.
getting higher. Tell me about your relationship with psychedelics.
Yeah.
You're telling me about acid before.
Yeah, I waited quite a long time to do psychedelic drugs. I was maybe, I don't know, in my early 20s. when lots of people take it when they're 15, which is, I don't recommend. But I sort of matured a bit, and the rave scene was like rising up in New York City, and I was nearby, and so acid, after a long hiatus from the 70s to the 1990s, you know, it wasn't really around. So I took it, as I said, with my friends in the woods. I took Felix the Cat acid tab with like 15 of the kids I grew up with. Amazing people, everybody so cool. And I had a remarkable experience the first time I took acid. Like everything in life made sense, and I also had some strange things happen. I got lost in the woods by myself, and I couldn't find where we were camping. And I would see the flashlights that they were playing flashlight tag, my friends, and I was looking for them. And I was looking in the woods, but my vision was all mixed up because of the LSD. And I looked down at one point, lost in the woods, and I was standing on a fallen tree about 20 feet in the air. I had walked up this tree, so this tree had fallen on an angle, and in looking around for my friends, I had walked to the very edge of this tree and went like, oh. And I realized I didn't die. I could have very well broken my head open on this strange...
You could have been one of those dudes on acid that just jumped off a bridge.
I know, and so I carefully crawled back down, but then I had this very deep sense of like, oh, there's something under the blanket here. There's something going on here, and we found a rotting log that night underneath the mud, and it was glowing bright green, like a fluorescent green, and we're handing out chunks of this log and pulling it apart and going. And so the main experience of my first acid trip was, wow, I can't believe there's this whole other world, and it seems to lend itself to psychedelics. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could find a glowing log, I suppose, at night, but I found it the first night. The first time I'd ever come across phosphorescent rotting wood was the first night I took LSD. And I was tripping privately with my friends, and at the time, pretty frequently, and having these profound experiences that I didn't have any vocabulary for. And then when I started crossing art over with those experiences, I was like, oh, I have a voice to talk about these really intense experiences. I started talking about the epiphanies and things that would happen to me in these situations. Mm-hmm. And then I have a really great friend. We have a really great mutual friend, actually, who first gave me the book Archaic Revival by Terence McKenna, and he said, "Here, read this book."
Who, John?
Yeah. And I read the whole book, cover to cover. Was blown away by the whole culture that Terence was in and his whole adventure with his brother in South America. Also, I was drawn to his articulation and just the,
Terence is amazing.
Yeah, Terence is amazing. And so then, months later, the same friend said, so would you like to try DMT? Like, I have some. And I'd taken mushrooms and acid 40 times before that. But DMT is this other, thing. And
this other thing.
Yeah, it's one hit of DMT is instantly you're on mushrooms and then it goes away in 5 minutes. But 4 or 5 hits of DMT has an entirely different character to it. And you...
Have you done it like over and over and over?
Yeah, so I did it several times, but I didn't have a breakthrough experience. I was just sit by the trees and watch them melt, and I was like, oh, this is great.
Oh, interesting.
And so after a while, though, my friend had come in and said, like, I don't think you're having
The full-on
the
situation.
experience. Come over to my house on Tuesday, and we'll get you sorted out. And so I went, and he took great pains to put an extra bit of DMT in there, and then it's very difficult to light it and get it to work right. It's kind of tricky because you don't want to burn it too much, and you have to do all this stuff. And you're also, so if you take one hit and then two, the whole world starts to sort of collapse in this kaleidoscope. And then you have to, through instruction, I was like, the only thing I could hear was him saying, take another hit, and I had committed to this, so I did that, and then yet a fourth one, and it was the same thing that many people report, tens, hundreds of thousands of people report on this stuff. I went through a sort of sunflower made out of electricity, and it hurt my face to go through this thing. And I woke up in a place. And in that place, which I came to understand on a fundamental level, I was in the math and the love that runs underneath the floor. It also goes up into your leg and up into the sky.
The code of creation.
It's in the matrix, man. And not only that, but there are things that live in there, which you could colloquially call an angel, who, for lack of a better term, flew up to my face and entered it and told me 100 things at the same time, all true, that on a deeply fundamental level, which is really hard to relay later to other people. But I know it was more true to me than anything else I'd ever experienced, which is hard, you got to take it on faith, like, or try it yourself. But some of the things it told me, this is where you go when you die. This is what it's like when you die. You're really lucky to have a back of your skull to contain a brain in order to have memories and have experiences. And let me show you, my love, what it's like when you don't have that. And then I became one with this field, infinite and eternal. And at some point, and I experienced it firsthand. And at some point it said, now would you like to go back to your body? Because isn't a body fun? The eternal warm math and love that's underneath the universe is also really wonderful. But we get to be there for billions of years after you die. And it showed me how fun and important it is to have a body for a short time. And I came back, I was in the void, experiencing it, and I took an inhale, and my lungs appeared first, and then my skeleton and body appeared on top of the lungs, and then I woke up. So I got to experience the ocean of math and love underneath the universe firsthand, and then I became a set of lungs, and then a skeleton around that, and then a body around that, and I came to. And I guess I was, under for 8 minutes, 10 minutes.
It's crazy.
And then all the while, there's all this paisleys and kaleidoscopes going around the room. But the most important thing was this firsthand experience with this, I swear, other being. As much as you were over there and I'm over here, that thing was not me. And
a higher version of you, maybe?
Perhaps. I don't know. But every sense that I had was that the information that it was imparting to me was absolutely true. There was sort of these psychedelic telepathic thumps into my chest. this is what the truth is, the truth,
Right.
the truth, the truth.
It's trying to like just teach you what reality truly
But
is.
it would float away from me and be over there. You know what I mean? I knew I was in my head. You have your wits about you when you're on DMT, but there's this unreal, utter, strange intimacy of someone reaching over as another entity, another being,
What's
another
a chance
person.
of your higher versions of yourself on different levels of vibration to
Yeah.
communicate to you, your guides?
Well, the great Sam Harris that proposes that every night you go to sleep and you dream about your grandmother or whoever, and like you create these people in your dream, and they seem like another person in your dream. So it is possible. Perhaps it is part of me. On a fundamental level, it is. But then there's also this utterly eerie idea that you're speaking to another, literally alien being. Outside of you. And so that was an incredible thing to experience and shake. So I would say a lot of my psychedelic use led up to that. And that was the exclamation point in not only my spiritual life, but all of that. That's what, it's hard to top that. And then I'm a huge proponent of MDMA, especially for your friends and your partners and loved ones. If you have something to talk about, I don't think there's an easier vehicle to authentically, especially cover difficult conversations. And it's also wonderful to dance on the dance floor and do that. So yeah, I feel like I will periodically use psychedelics for the rest of my life, but I also feel like I got a significant message and have...
You know where you're at.
Yeah.
And anything else is a reminder.
These days I trip a lot less than you might think. And it's under very special circumstances.
Well, that's getting less young, I guess, you know? You get
Yeah.
what you gotta
Well, you get
learn.
the message and you hang up the phone.
Right.
And like, then you do it a few more times, but then you're like, well, I get it.
It's reminders.
Yeah.
So you get a refresher and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I know where I'm at.
Yeah.
In the case of what I do with ayahuasca, it's not only these reminders of like, oh, I know where I'm at, I know what's my direction, but also let's purge all this bullshit that doesn't, I don't have to keep on carrying this fucking extra crap
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for sharing so honestly about all your psychedelics experiences. That's beautiful and so interesting. My cameras are all dying by now, as you know.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna like say goodbye to our viewers soon. But would you like to say some final words to the millions and millions of people who are watching our show right now?
I'll quote Voltaire, if it's okay for you.
Ooh la 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 la.
The most important decision you make is to be in a good mood. Be careful, be nice. I love you. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Thanks for watching Chris Dyer's Creative Friends. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I love you. And all blessings to you. Until next time. Peace.
This friend of mine is an amazing artist that I've known for almost a decade. His name is Jack Schur.
It is ambiguous and very deep in its meaning to me at the same time.
Right. That's interesting. It's almost, as I said, it's like a code or a secret
Yeah.
handshake
Yeah.
that you got going.
But what's surprising is sometimes people do find those things.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and I wouldn't. There's nothing like directly that says it, which is cool.
Uh-huh. Do you feel like you're leaving like Easter eggs about yourself in your paintings?
Kind of.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So make sure to subscribe, like, and everything else. Big thanks and see you next week. Peace.